be too deep. I think I'm dying here, man.
Welcome to the 3B Video Deep Cut Podcast.
Watch a few movies, take a few notes. It was fun.
Aw, yeah, it's that time again for another bi-weekly podcast with your hosts, Rotten Roger DeMarco and...
Evil, and by the way, my name's not Carrie Tate.
That's sucky.
Ooh,
That's right.
What is it?
Another 2 weeks down, and another entry in the Halloween franchise, the mishmash choose-your-own-adventure franchise that is Halloween, and only this time they had enough money to convince Jamie Lee Curtis to come back before she came back and came back and came back and came back. But this was a big deal. This was a really big deal in 1998. So
I'm gonna be the oddball stick in the mud on this episode to an extent, because
no, you're fine.
Not that there's anything wrong with this movie, but I forget about this movie every time, like, we're doing like a recount of what the order of the movies are and everything. Like, I will immediately bypass this and go straight to Resurrection. And every time it's you and the wife being like, oh, you forgot about H2O. I'm like, oh, yeah, I guess I did. 1998 me, that you're talking like that's the roller coaster of Attitude Era wrestling. There's nothing I could not really care a great deal less about at that time than watching. I remember the H2O trailers coming on during Monday Night Raw, and I'm like,
Wow, really? So,
I think a great deal of that also goes to the fucking mask.
Oh, that mask is atrocious. But at the very, very, very beginning of the movie, we do have the Beekler mask from Part 6 when he kills Nurse Marion. But then, throughout the movie, the mask changes and changes and changes and changes. And it's very frustrating. But, so I was going to ask you, so since you weren't excited for this, it's safe to assume you did not go see this in theaters, correct?
No.
You did not? Okay.
I did not.
I went opening day in a small town around here and took my cousin with me, and he was not a Michael Myers fan. Like, he had never really seen a Michael Myers movie.
I don't know about this, Wayne.
But he had just, like, recently moved to that small town, so that's kind of what we would do to hang out. Like, my mom would bring me over to visit him, and I'd spend the weekend or whatever, and, like, you know, we went and saw Anaconda, you know, we would go see, like, The Mummy. So when Halloween H20 came out, I'm like, dude, we got to go see it, you know. And it scared the bejesus out of him, because he's not a slasher guy. I was impressed with the movie. I remember, like, leaving the movie and being hyped because I felt like it was a definitive end to Michael Myers. But I think it was that initial viewing in a theater setting, rose-colored glasses, you know, and then it's not until you watch it more, at least for me when I was a kid, being like, well, that music is wrong, or like the look is wrong, the tone is wrong, like all of these things. So now as an adult, it is definitely on like the lower end of Halloween films that I like.
Was you at the time? Was you looking for an ending? Was you like pleased with like this? If this was it, this is it.
Well, yeah, I think, you know, because it's like, there's so many ways, like, oh, getting shot, you could be like, well, yeah, I'll be shot, but he'll still sit up. But, like, how do you sit up when your fucking head is chopped off? You know what I mean? So it was like, I remember the pop in the theater. Like, I remember everybody being like, whoa, you know, and the head rolls and comes to a stop, and the music goes, meow, does the original stinger, and you're like, okay, like, fucking badass, man. Like, and that was like the feeling when everyone left, was like being on a roller coaster and going through like a really big loop, you know. That's how everyone left the theater. No one left the theater and was going, that fucking sucked, man. Everyone was like, holy fuck, they killed him, you know.
I like that old school like weaponry, like logic sense of like a small chunk of metal moving at like the speed of light through a body. We're like, he's fine. He could live through that, even if that was done multiple times to him. and technically turns his torso into Swiss cheese. But just give me an old school medieval like sharpened blade and sever a limb.
Stabbing weapons.
And we're like, nope, there's no coming back from that one.
I'm telling you, man. It was like definitive. It was permanent. It was he's gone, period. And yeah, and then they do the old okey doke with us with the next movie, but we'll get to that in 2 weeks. But so let's start at the beginning, Evil, and why don't you give the good folks out there in internet land a brief plot synopsis, and then we'll get into your likes, your dislikes, your utter disdain for this film.
It's not utter disdain, it's utter forgetfulness and uninterest for the most part. But
gotcha.
It's been 20 years since the events of Halloween 1978, and Laurie Strode has changed her name, faked her death, and moved to California. But you can't escape the past. And for some fuck-all reason, Donald Pleasance, who's not alive anymore, is still finding a way to fuck up somebody's life by keeping sealed records of this woman's identity in his goddamn house for I don't know reasons, which prompts Michael to break into his or it's
Marion
the nurse's
Crane.
place.
Yeah.
Who has just been left in charge of keeping all his shit, but breaks into her house, finds the missing file on Laurie Strode with the address, all kinds of information, where to locate her ass and everything, completely just neglecting all the work that the FBI did to fake this woman's death and give her a new identity. And then Michael treks it from Illinois to California by stopping at local rest stops and just stealing different vehicles and driving along, because I can't imagine he stops for piss breaks or gas refuels.
Gotta stop and eat a dog every now and then.
And then where he just invades a private school where a bunch of kids have gone on to Yosemite for a Halloween trip.
Yeah, Halloween camping trip, I guess.
But a certain number of kids stay behind to do what kids do, drink, fuck, all that stuff.
Eat tater tots.
Even though that she had a child in this storyline that she abandoned when she faked her death, she apparently is super protective of her second child, Josh Hartnett, who looks a lot like her for like creepy ways, has a lot of similarities. But Laurie Strode, Carrie Tate, whoever the fuck she is hell-bent on not reliving that history and is going to put a definitive end to her brother's rampage.
Good Lord, yeah.
Or not.
So, we just got to jump right into this, and I gotta say, first and foremost, young kid me, when I watched this movie, I was so thrilled with the amount of, at the time, what I considered fan service by having Janet Leigh in the movie, by having the car that she drove in Psycho be her car, the music cue from Psycho.
Yeah, because this is Mario Brothers era still, so it's difficult to get a studio to actually do shit that's continuity and nod and wink wise. So the morsels we got were like,
so
devour that shit.
At the time, I was overly thrilled that these things were in the movie. The older I get, the more I realize it's more so it's not done from like a place of love, at least in my opinion. I feel like it's check marks and it's pandering. Like it's a whole different feeling I have when I watch the movie now, almost like it's insulting. Like it's insulting to me.
The fuck do you know about Psycho?
Well, not, but like it's this weird era. We already talked about it being 1998. So this is Scream era. This is Kevin Williamson.
This is 2 years post Scream, and that's probably a good chunk of the reason why I was just not into it. Like we've talked, I love Scream.
Yeah,
everything that kind of followed Scream, I'm not really a fan of, and I really kind of tuned out of horror. And that was going into the Millennium era. Reasons why I didn't even see House on Haunted Hill until way later, because I was like, I don't want to see any of this shit right now, really.
Yeah. So, and we talked about that on some of our live streams and other podcasts, right? Where this is a case of Scream is 100% heavily influenced by Halloween, right? Like, that's why Scream is so awesome, is because
it's the new Coke of horror.
Yeah, but by the time we get to H2O, we are in the Scream era. So Halloween itself is looking at Scream and going, what made Scream successful? And so it's like
snappy dialogue.
Yeah, and it's this weird
stars of teen TV shows
and hip hop stars or whatever, you know, but it's like it's this weird it's an imitation of a movie that was imitating Halloween. Like, so it's this weird like imitation of an imitation, and we start getting like further and further removed from what makes Halloween so good. And if you don't believe me, just watch the movie and and just listen to the score for 100%. Like, they neglected what makes Halloween Halloween, which is John Carpenter's score, which is only apparent at the beginning of the movie and the very end of the movie. Everything else is those weird, like, rising strings and, like, you know, out of tune piano chord crashes that Scream used, and it's
that was a debate between the composer and
Alan Howarth.
Not Alan, like Ottman was it?
Oh, okay, yeah, John Ottman.
Yeah, Ottman.
Howarth was the OG, or like for part 4 and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, but Ottman had scored it one way, and then studio gets a hold of it and replaced it. I think that's even in that documentary. He's like, I had this bombastic shot of him walking through the school, and it's ba ba ba, and it's replaced with yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's stupid, and it really fucks with the atmosphere, as far as I'm concerned.
That is a finger on a really big hand to me that does it. That score doesn't help it. I'm not a huge fan of the guy that get to do the retelling of the Loomis story from Halloween. I know some people are like, it sounds pretty close, and I'm like, that didn't even come close to me. And they couldn't use the original because it had the score behind it, and they couldn't find like an original audio recording of it to use that exact copy, so they had to find somebody to try to imitate it. I don't think that worked. And even though we have a shit ton of different masks in this movie, including that CG one that is talk about the height of CG technology of 1998. I hate every one of these masks, and I realize that this all comes down to I can see his whole fucking eye.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that.
I hate I don't ever want to see Michael's eyes.
Yeah.
Maybe, like in a very like narrow shadow, like i.e. Jason New Blood. Like, you can almost see a little bit of eye. Mm-hmm. That is it. This, when I can see all the skin around each eye, it just kills everything about the mystique
of the shape. Yeah, because then
he's not the
just
shape anymore. Now he's just fucking
a guy in a mask.
Dude.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's just a Grand Theft Auto guy.
Yeah, and again, like I said, the first time viewing as a kid, super hyped. The older I get, the
honeymoon periods wore off. Now you're in 20 years plus of marriage with this movie, and you're seeing the flaws.
Which is crazy to think that this movie has been out. It was H2O 20 years after the original, and here we are again. Like, where H2O
we're beyond 20 years removed from this.
Yeah, is considered a classic. Like, it could be on Turner Classic Movies because it's old. And it's... I think the problem is it's so like drenched in 90s, and whereas like Halloween 78, you and I have talked about how it is essentially a timeless movie with the exception of a little bit of the wardrobe, but it
and the technology.
Yeah, but it feels like it could be anytime, any day, small town America. But once you get into the 90s, things start to feel too like slick and shiny and hip, and it's
snappy dialogue. All that just kind of fits into like, how does it rank on the? We've talked about this in several movies that are supposed to take place in October. How does it feel hitting like the vibe of looking like it's supposed to be late October. I know we're in California, so it's not going to get cold. Like I think it dropped there to maybe 65.
Yeah, maybe
as an all-time low, and people are in parkas and shit on the streets of California.
So yeah, as far as the atmosphere goes, we do get a few shots of, and they're shoehorned in, like the lady carving the pumpkin very aggressively. Like,
I'm just thinking of like Laurie Strode, like out on the town.
Oh yeah, with that, there's a couple, like storefronts decorated.
Yeah, feels a little bit like it's not super giving me the Halloween season vibes, but it's peppered in a little bit.
Yeah, but not enough, and I think that's also one of its hindrances is because it's like, man, it's literally titled Halloween, right? So can't we soak up that atmosphere just a little bit more? But instead it's kind of overshadowed by like this private school and this camping trip, and as much as I love LL Cool J, good fucking God, is it overshadowed by Ronnie's wannabe writing career,
screenwriting career.
Yeah, and
which you realized a couple of years back about with the great 3B video adult lens on viewing things. Like LL Cool J is apparently the only working security guard for this private school,
and has clearly put in like a 16-hour day,
working from dawn till dusk every day.
Yeah, it's insane. Like, he's there for school. He lets people in during the school hours.
So let's say roughly he starts probably there about
7 a.m., 6 a.m., 7 a.m., yeah.
Yeah, 6:30 he's probably getting there to work, and then he's there until...
It's like past midnight, and the motherfuckers...
I was going to say at least 10.
Yeah, it's
like
late.
10 o'clock, but yeah, he's working the longest days. Well, he's got to pay for, putting himself through self-taught screenwriting classes.
Well, and also, I don't know, he might have some sort of rare deficiency where he has way too much blood in his body because he gets shot in the fucking ear and there's about 16 gallons of blood on the fucking
clearly
floor.
Supposed to be dead, but I guess the thing I heard was he really wanted to potentially come back for the next movie, so they're like, can I live through this to maybe come back? And they just like, cool, yeah, we'll do that, and then just replaced him with Busta Rhymes.
Yeah, they did the old TCM3, hey, it's me, Benny. They let Benny come back, so they let LL come back. And he's a fine character. It's okay, but, again, we're so...
He's not the greatest security guard.
No,
if you look at
the
overall objective of things, like, yeah, he kind of allows this kind of party to go on without being interrupted, and he completely dismisses this guy come through this gated community, essentially, and start a massacre.
Yeah. So, yeah, not the best of security guards. But, yeah, he does fine in this movie, I guess. It's a whole, like...
There's a bit, too, there, like, who really stands out in this? I remember Michelle Williams, who was in full-on Dawson's Creek mode.
Oh, yeah, she's awesome. She's awesome.
She's okay. Jodie Lynn O'Keefe, who I think this is her first movie outside of doing Nash Bridges.
That's the dark-haired girl?
Yeah, it's from She's All That.
Okay.
Really good at playing a bitch character.
Gotcha.
And a whole lot of... I think she's also in like 30 Minutes. Or no, I'm thinking that's the girl from the next movie. Who's in 30 Minutes or less.
Hartnett.
Mixing up my brunettes.
Hartnett, this was like introducing Josh Hartnett. He's fine. I've never had an issue with Josh Hartnett. I actually really like him. But
like his rebellious attitude, like they were like, he's like the shots of him wearing a beanie while filming just so they couldn't fucking try to make his hair look nice, and anytime they did, he would fucking just scratch it up and just make it. He wanted to look rough.
Yeah.
He wanted to not look so clean cut and Johnny Depp Nightmare on Elm Street 1-ish. So
it
make sure
worked.
that tie isn't completely, up to the neck, and get the little wrinkles in the shirt and fucking just
he's got stupid ass hair. Stupid hair. But yeah, no, it totally works.
He looks like he could totally be the son of Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, that's right. That's the whole point of this movie is everyone's supposed to be so jazzed we got Jamie Lee Curtis back, and it's kind of like her redemption, her arc. And
this is post True Lies. She's like had a career resurgence that she'll just never go away. She's a top tier star that just
absolutely
just kind of comes into focus, takes a break, then comes back and takes a break, but hasn't done anything because this is, even though we're at the height of horror stuff, this is still like horror movies. That's that's below television.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's a great character arc. It's a great end to the story. It's a good bookend, and I like it, and I really do wish that they would have stopped with this one. At least, not done Resurrection, but, again, like I said, we'll get to that in 2 weeks. But pretty much everybody else in this movie, they're all cannon fodder. That's what every single person is. And it doesn't have a high body count, but they're all not overly likable characters, at least.
No, I can't pull anybody up that's like I remember the overall story, but once we kind of get into like the other kids have left for Yosemite, and up until we have Jamie versus Michael one-on-one in this empty building, all that in between stuff is still hazy to me. And I've seen this movie a number of times. I was like, I don't know if I just tuned the fuck out or what, but I'm like, what happened? I don't even, huh?
And the original plot, the whole thing about Charlie, right? Like Charlie was supposed to be the killer. There was supposed to be no Michael Myers. It was supposed to be totally Scream, copycat killer. And if I'm not mistaken, they
probably was not going to go for that shit at
I think
all.
they filmed it. That's what I'm saying. If I'm not mistaken, they filmed a bunch of that stuff, which is why in the final cut, if you look, you see Charlie being kind of shifty-eyed, like he's a bad guy. He could be a bad guy, and all this crap.
Some new nightmare shit.
Yeah, and so Charlie was originally supposed to be Michael Myers, and somewhere along the line they decided that's probably not going to work. They, probably started getting nervous, like Friday 5 or, Halloween 3. Like, we don't want to dupe the fans too hard, so let's just have it be Michael.
98 Halloween 3 is like, burn him at the stake. That movie is trash.
Yep.
Don't even come close to doing that shit again.
Yeah.
Don't do it. They saw that. They saw Friday the 13th 5. They're like, don't try to pull the wool over our eyes. If it ain't Michael Myers, we're going to riot.
Yeah, well, especially if it's supposed to be the final film in the franchise, right? Like,
I didn't get that then. Even watching the trailers, they didn't present to me through the trailers that this is going to be the last one. I just thought it was just another one. Like, they're trying to bring shit back, which, oddly enough, even in 98, I was like, I don't think they're going to do another Nightmare on Elm Street. Even then, I was like, I didn't see this as like the resurgence of the slashers, which now every time like the new Halloween movie comes out, they're like, oh, well, everybody's coming back now, right? We're going to get all of them again. Back then, I was just like, I had no anticipation for like, oh, does this mean we're going to get another Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Hellraiser?
Wasn't
I thought we're still doing Hellraisers at that point.
Wasn't Bride of Chucky 98 as well? And
it's
98 or 99. It's somewhere in that area. So, but it was
it's in that ballpark.
It was this weird resurgence of all of our icons, but very like pop culture-y, very Scream-esque. And
some of them icons, not all.
Yeah, not all of them for sure. But it was a weird time. And if you weren't around, it's kind of hard to explain the climate of horror. I know that we say it all the time that like, well, Scream is responsible for a lot of this, and but it's 100% true. Like, Scream was so wildly successful that everything wanted to be Scream, from fucking TV shows to movies that weren't horror movies, but especially horror. Horror had like this gross like shine to it for a really long time before somebody in a boardroom went, can we stop with all the like self-referential like too hip for fucking school attitude,
Kevin Williamson dialogue?
Yeah, can we stop that? Like, and then as a result, horror kind of it went from the shiny era to what was wildly known as the torture porn era of like Hostel and all of that stuff, which I like. So
It's fine. Yeah, it's got its own place and time. It's weird to be looking at this and I think that's the next big era to break.
Yeah. Well, okay. So also in that era was the J horror era, but so in between, I think the Scream era and the torture porn era was like all the J horror stuff, like The Ring got remade, and that was in the 90s as well, 98, 99, maybe somewhere in that era. But yeah, so we had a lot of that
somewhere in there. Yeah, I remember it being. I remember previews and shit for The Ring, which I didn't see any of those either. I think I watched The Ring once it hit cable for the first time, and then I was like,
yeah, it's not bad. Not a bad movie, but and
not bad.
then,
But I didn't feel the need to watch it again or continue on with that story. Yeah, it was a weird place where I just horror wasn't
at your forefront.
It wasn't my thing at the time. Like I really I feel like I took a fucking break from horror movies that were coming out in the late 90s, like 97 to probably about 01, 02. Like I was just kind of I'm gonna do other shit.
Gotcha. Yeah, it happens. Fall in and out of like hobbies and what you're really digging, and especially since like we talked about it being the Attitude Era, and you're a big wrestling guy, so like you're kind of all in on wrestling, and
I did.
It's kind of hard to find. It's kind of hard to find time for anything else.
I don't know any movies really that were coming out in that kind of time frame. That was get you. I mean, Blair Witch Project probably it broke through. Yeah. Which is weird to think that came after this. Mm-hmm. Like it feels like it would be before, but that's a year after this. And man, as that movie hits October vibes 100 times better than this movie does.
Yeah, for sure. So that was the other era, is the found footage era. But oddly enough, because Blair Witch was so successful, not a lot of people wanted to emulate Blair Witch. It took a while for Hollywood or wherever to get the balls to try and emulate Blair Witch. That seemed like an easy concept, but it's very difficult to make something like that scary. So I think it took until around Paranormal Activity getting popular for everyone to start doing found footage films.
Yeah, surprisingly, we've not had Michael go found footage, but
kind of the next podcast is kind of found footage. Sort of.
I feel like it's more like they were going for a War of the Worlds type fucking vibe. Which we'll get into all that stuff next week. Talking this movie, I feel it does have one cool shot.
Okay, which one?
That is emulated. And it's always in like clips. If you're gonna see H2O clips, you're gonna see this shot. And it's of course, like in part 2, we have the finger in the butt scene of having the nurse up in the air with a knife in her back. Yeah. In this one, I feel it's Laurie Strode on the hunt, and Michael slowly lowering himself
with
by
the one arm pull up. The one arm pull up, I hate that. I'm surprised you like that.
Yeah, I kind of like that.
He'd have to be. That motherfucker would have to have his legs up, wrapped around whatever he's lowering himself down from. Unless he's doing a goddamn one-arm handstand upside down. He's got to be a goddamn Olympic gymnast. I am anti one-arm pull-up like I am anti fucking jacket
interesting
Jason.
Spots where you're like, believable, unbelievable.
I don't like it.
Shoot him 6 times. I don't give a fuck. That's fine with me, but he can't be bad. Fucker better not be doing no one-arm pull-ups.
It's logistically impossible for him to be up high enough.
So is it going to be shot as many times as the fucking guy has?
Is he a CrossFitter?
He's been shot in both his eyes.
I still believe that more than I do him doing a one-arm handstand pull-up.
3 movies ago, he was shot in both his eyes. And yet in this movie, he has 2 functioning eyes.
That's because he's Charlie. But, I don't even. So my favorite shot in this movie, my favorite sequence in this movie, is when Laurie attacks Michael and he falls off of that second story through that
table.
That
Like,
table bump is so good.
That's so 1998. That's somebody is watching
Hell in a Cell.
watching No Mercy and like, man, someone should really probably put this in a movie. What if we just have him bust through a fucking table?
Yeah, I love that probably the last 15 minutes of H2O is pretty fucking rad. The whole thing of like walking through and flipping the tables. I remember that being in trailers too.
That's
like,
cool. Yeah, I like that. I like that.
Yeah. So few like really
like the concept of her like completely like calling bullshit like he's dead and just hijacking the ambulance.
Yeah.
And him slowly starting to come, rise up in the back of the ambulance. That's cool.
Yeah. It's, it's got some good stuff going for it, but for the most part it is, like you said, it's not like a bad movie, but it is kind of forgettable because it's so like in the middle of all that shiny, really nice horror stuff that was going on. I was like, man, this is supposed to be scary, but it's too smooth. I don't really know how to describe it 100%, like in my brain, what I feel it looks like.
Which is why I'm going outside the box and I'm giving my Brown Panty award to this entire movie, because I will always completely forget about H2O. I will forget half of what happens in the damn movie, and I'll forget every time I'm going through like a lineup of the movies, and I'll forget to mention it every time. I definitely know it was one of the movies I was not like super hyped to rewatch when we did that marathon a few years ago. Prior to 2018. That's before we had this new trilogy out. We did every Halloween movie over the course of a day.
That was
on
hard.
top of actually trick or treating. Yeah, we didn't wrap up to about 4 or 5 in the morning. I like that progression. We were sending Snapchats back and forth, and you could see us at Halloween 78, like pretty bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, ready to kind of do this.
It was like 6 o'clock in the morning when I watched it, so I was like, yeah, I'm good to go.
And then we get to, 24 hours later, and we're sending snaps of like just weird filters on the TV, and I'm like,
I'm dying.
It's a progression of serious madness. And now there's 3 more movies tacked onto that fucking franchise, so now it's impossible.
The hard thing for me is the Brown Panty Award, because the body count is so small in this movie. We have Charlie, we have his girlfriend who gets like strung up with the light, we have Laurie's boyfriend, we have Nurse Marion. Nurse Marion is going to get my Brown Panty Award. That
dude sums up perfectly what this movie is for me, because I forget he's in it. I forget that he actually does die, I always think it's George Clooney.
He's the poor man's George Clooney.
Yeah, and I guess he was on one of those like hospital drama shows too, so he's even following George Clooney's ER footsteps.
Nice.
Like, what the fuck? That dude sums up perfectly my feelings about this movie entirely. Is like, you forget he's in it, you forget how he dies, when he dies, that he dies at all, and you think it's somebody else.
Yeah, and then you also got Joseph Gordon-Levitt and his buddy at the beginning.
JGL. He's got his bit is good. I love him fucking just roughhousing the place with a hockey stick.
Jimmy been suspended 3 times already for getting a little rough with his stick. Yeah, he's got a good character, unfortunately.
It's just high sticking, man. It's not as awesome to brag about as it sounds like. Yeah, it's just high. That's just raising your stick a little higher above like the waistline. It's not like high sticking is pretty. It's like, icing, hooking. Yeah. Like, it's not that awesome of a thing. Like game misconducts and fights. All right, now we're talking. But just high sticking.
Yep. He ain't no Casey Jones, baby. But yeah, he's a cool character. Both of those kids die off screen, if you will.
Give me Happy Gilmore. That would terrify. Give me a dude trying to stab Michael Myers with his own ice skate.
Yeah. So yeah, my Brown Panty Award goes to Nurse Marion, even though once this timeline is erased, she gets to come back.
Yes, she'll be back again. This is, outside of 3, this is the first movie, right, that it takes every movie up to this point and just shakes up the whole mythology. Like,
H2O only belongs... H2O's timeline is Halloween 1, 2, and H2O. So, like, 4 and 5 don't exist prior to... So she didn't, like, have Jamie. She only has Josh Hartnett. So
but I believe, I don't know if it's a deleted scene or it was original script, but I know at some point there was supposed to be a scene where somebody was doing like an article or a project on serial killers and chose Michael Myers, and that's how she found out that Jamie had been killed through like those reports, and like she goes and like yaks in the bathroom.
Gotcha. Yeah, so
somebody tried at one point to at least try to tie in the previous three movies.
Yeah, and then once that scene is cut, there's no tie to it, so then it creates a whole alternate timeline, which...
And then we have a mild timeline to the new timeline of the current Halloween trilogy, and that Jamie Lee Curtis's character, bit of an alky.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and, you know, to be honest with you, I like her character in H2O a little bit more than I like her character in this new trilogy. As
of this recording, we still have not seen Halloween Ends. It's coming very, very, very soon for us. It will be our conclusion of this franchise up to this point. But I prefer that Laurie Strode character. I like that she trained for fucking 30 years, 40 years to get ready for something, and Michael didn't give a fuck about.
My feeling on that is completely summed up by that bullshit throwaway scene with the her granddaughter and her two friends walking to school when the boy's like, is it really though that big of a deal? Like, in the grand scheme of things, he killed what, 3 fucking people? He killed 3 people in fucking 1978, and your grandma.
Sadly, yeah, like it's real minor number.
Yeah, so it's
in this day and age.
So 3 of your friends got killed by a guy that got fucking shot to shit and locked in an insane asylum. 40 plus years later, you're such a fucking basket case that you've got floodlights and guns out the wazoo in case he comes back. Like, in the grand scheme of things, writing wise, that's borderline retarded. It's not great, but
if you think about it, that's, you know, kind of. And if you think about it, you could also say that's the exact same origin stories for the Punisher.
Yeah,
someone kills 3 members of his family, and then he prepares for vengeance for the rest of his life.
He goes and kills every bad person. You know, he's not sitting there waiting for bad people to come find him, and you know, being a crybaby. He's out there fucking handling business. But you know, we'll get to Halloween 2018. I don't have a problem with Halloween 2018. I just feel like the version of Jamie Lee Curtis in H2O is a little bit more believable. Moved away, changed her name.
I can buy her
yeah.
becoming a headmaster of a school from how she was in the first 2 movies. Like, it's not a jump for me at all to imagine like, oh yeah, she would head up a prep school, a very high-end prep school.
And she's a functioning alcoholic who takes medication, but she's a damaged person, which feels more real to me. So that's the one thing I'll say that it's got going for it. Plus, shallow and a little bit of vanity for me is she's still super smoking hot in H2O. And, you know what I mean? I'm going to out myself that I'm like, yeah, I like looking at her, and I like how tough she is. Like, it's kind of a turn on how she's very like Ellen Ripley badass in this movie. She flips that switch. Now
I'll take True Lies, Jamie Lee.
Yeah, but now she's 70, you know, and I'm like, I mean, I guess her and Michael are old, but like,
now we're watching the old folks fight each other to death.
Not gonna win this tussle, lady, and he doesn't give a fuck about you.
So you're saying now you don't want to quite split Jamie Lee in half like you did 20 plus years ago
when she did Perfect? Yeah, what's up?
Now, like, Debbie Sue Voorhees, or Linnea Quigley, who still kind of, even though they're in that Jamie Lee category of age, wouldn't slow you down, wouldn't stop you.
Break all their hips. Yeah, I'd give
send you to the ER.
I'm gonna give it the best 4 seconds of my life. But yeah, was there anything else H2O related you wanted to talk about before we move on to these next segments? I'm trying to think if there's anything that I personally wanted to talk about.
I'm just thinking about him stealing the fucking cars, and it's just like it's a 2-day, like him just driving cross country. Like, is he wearing the mask the entire time? Does he just run a car till it's out of gas and then steals another car? Like,
Gotta
is it
be.
just the 2 cars he has, or does he have a couple cars in between that he's swapping out at various gas stations that someone happens to just leave their keys and shit in? Does he know how to hotwire a vehicle? I'm just curious about because we don't get that with any other. No other slasher is limited and has to rely on transportation to get shit done. Michael is the only guy who drives.
Yeah.
Freddy doesn't need to fucking drive. It's a dream. He's not limited by that shit. Jason is too goddamn stupid to drive a car.
Yeah, well, and most of the stuff happens at his house. Like, people keep coming to his lake. He's like, I can walk over there and fuck you up.
Minus this movie, everything is happening in Haddonfield. But
right.
Michael is the only guy that's limited by I've got to get behind the wheel and drive somewhere, which puts him in a different intellectual level than the other slashers. So I'm just curious about some of the deets of how he gets around and drives these cars.
I don't know.
Does he have a thing just for classic looking cars? Because he's at that random ass rest stop where you got to imagine the people stopping by are maybe 2 or 3 in a day.
Yeah, maybe.
It's like, did he let 2 other people go that day? And he's like, nope, this is the one. Like, conversion van comes by and he's like, pass. a VW Bug, pass. Like, only certain cars you can picture Michael driving.
Right.
Oddly enough, I don't think the station wagon is a deterrent or makes him look stupid, but I can't picture him in some, like a Pontiac Le Mans. I do not picture Michael Myers driving in. Something where his head is scraping the roof.
Yeah.
Yeah, an El Camino would be boss. I mean, a bright orange El Camino.
Think of all the murdering implements he could put in the back of that thing. Stole some Halloween mask and a rope.
On side of the road and throw them in the back and keep on going. A pickup truck would be kind of weird. I don't know why I can't see him in a pickup truck.
I don't know.
Maybe a conversion van, I'm all right with. A pickup truck, I don't see. Not even either a Ranger or like a big F-150. I don't see him in a truck for whatever reason. A motorcycle would be super bizarre.
That would be fucking awesome.
A 3-wheeler with the helmet on, looking like the bride from Kill Bill.
Fucking ridiculous. Yeah. I don't even know, dude.
I know what we could do. We could talk about some folks who kind of shared a similar feeling I do of not really thinking this is the greatest Halloween movie and decided to get on the Zon and just rate that fucker 1 star. An Amazon 1-star review, if you will.
Hated it.
First on this list is Joel Wing. It's a weird name.
Joel Wing.
Joel Wing.
Oh, is he Asian? Joel Wing. I don't know. I don't know why I want to
Joel Wing. Joel Wing sounds like a musical artist that I would just hate.
Yeah, plays music at dentist offices.
Like his music would be a lot of ballads and shit that's on the radio. They're like, ugh.
You don't know what you got till it's gone. Sorry.
I don't know if I'd put him in a hair band category, but definitely in that, like, he's going to be hosting various TV shows and, like, the musical guest for a lot of late night talk shows. Like, just one of those, like, you can't escape Joel Wing.
Well, who are those fucking people who sang the I'm the one who wants to be with you? You know, that fucking, is that Cinderella? And they're like, it's a black and white video. They're all sitting around in chairs. Like, they got long hair.
I think that might be Joel Wing.
There you go. Deep inside, I hope you feel it. 2. I'm going to stop singing.
Nobody knew we were putting Joel Wing on blast today. But he had it coming.
Yeah, bitch.
But on March 25th, 2021, he says 1 star, Jamie Lee Curtis returned to the franchise, but she should have said no. A young JGL is found with an ice skate in his face. What a way to start a movie. He sounds excited about that. Like, that's a really good way to start a movie. The main draw was that Jamie Lee Curtis returned to the franchise that made her famous. She should have said no. Curtis sees Michael Myers everywhere, which helps set the mood. Unfortunately, when Myers does show up, the film starts going for stupid gimmicks, like a girl can't pull her dress from under a guy's leg and being afraid of getting something out of a sink. This is akin to the obligatory girl running from the guy with knife and suddenly falls down for no reason, or jumping in a car and it won't start. Oh, I forgot. They did throw in one car won't start as well. It does try to redeem itself when Curtis standing up to Michael, but the damage had already been done.
Yeah, it's pretty close. Not gonna front.
I like that he all right, we're killing JGL with an ice skate to the face. This movie's got potential. I'm on board.
I want to see that scene where he's like pushing it towards his face, you know? I want that. Give me that.
You think it's a slow one, or you think it's like wicked fast? Like he just slams that shit in there like Meat Cleaver and Friday 4? Or do you think
slow.
It's 09 Friday, where it's that underneath the chin thing?
Slow. That's
slow.
Better. Yeah, that's better.
That's horrifying.
Killing a kid slowly
impale JGL with an ice skate in the face.
Just imagine it. Like, it starts cutting.
I'm imagining it. It's horrifying.
It's cutting, and then you start to hear the bone cracking, and it's just pushing into his face. That's way better than a just done, you know?
I can't argue against that. Next is LSD on March 12th, 2022. 1 star. Nothing happens. There are many horror movies that will actually scare you. None of the Friday the 13th will. Short, simple, truth. Like, she just puts, with multiple F's on Friday, she just puts Friday the 13th on blast, as well as Halloween H20 in her review. Fuck you.
Fine, I guess.
Next we have, I don't even know how to say this username, Solid Arsnozik. SOLIDARNOSC.
Your guess is
solid arsenic. I don't know.
There you go.
October 27th, 2017. 1 star. Abysmal.
Abysmal.
I'll make it simple. This is supposed to be a horror film, yet it lacks the most important component in any good horror flick: an eerie atmosphere. Bad acting, bad script, bad setting, bad story. No suspense to speak of. I enjoy good camp. I love the first 6. Yes, that's right, 6 Friday the 13th films. Now the guy wants to bring in the other franchise into his rant about Halloween. They had bad acting, but were campy fun, and Jason was a great villain. Well, Mikey Myers was good in parts 1, 2, and 4. I enjoyed part 3 quite a bit, even though it had nothing to do with Myers. This movie is a complete waste of time. Even I Know You Did Last Summer was better. That about says it all. Trash,
Michael.
I don't see myself getting to this movie less than I Know What You Did Last Summer. Like, I really don't want to do. I think I have an easier time explaining Phantasm than that fucking trilogy.
Oh boy, yeah.
I never want to do I Know What You Did Last Summers ever. All
right, that's the next franchise we're covering.
Oh my god.
I'm just kidding. I also am fine with not.
Next is Liz Andrade. November 21st, 2013. 1 star. What's in a movie?
What's in a movie?
Hello. Thank you for your follow-up, Amazon marketing people. I had hosted a scary movie night with friends on Day of the Dead, November 1st. We all thought this movie was done poorly. It lacked good character development, storyline. The list goes on and on. The blood scene looks like raspberry juice. With the HD Blu-ray, ha! Too bad, since I had planned to get the first edition anyway, Halloween 1978 instead of H20 1998. Best regards, Liz.
Liz, best regards. At least she's polite.
Yeah,
But
that's maybe the nicest 1-star I've ever seen. Ever.
Big fan of the ha.
Yeah. Blood scenes look like raspberry juice with the HD Blu-ray. Ha.
Ha.
Ha ha ha.
Ha ha.
Next is Captain Hindsight.
Oh,
Great name.
that is good.
October 21st, 2017 as well. He writes 1 star. Blah. Some movies should just remain in the past. Wouldn't all movies remain in the past? Isn't every movie in the past? This podcast is technically recorded in the past.
This is a movie I made in the future. You son of a bitch, how'd you pull that off? Let me see that camera.
Exactly. And I thought that was a good way to round off the Halloween H20 1-star reviews from Amazon customers. So Rondell Dale Branch, Pepe Sylvia, throw in whatever name you like there. On February 9th, 2001.
Ooh.
That was 3 years removed from this movie, if you want to
Yeah.
put that in perspective a little bit. But he says 1 star.
Oh, boy. Snoring noises?
Predictable slasher directed and written on autopilot. The only thing that makes this film differ from all those awful Friday the 13th clones
Good God.
that appeared in the 80s is that Halloween H20's cast is made up of respected, actors instead of amateurs. Michelle Williams is cute, but who cares about that? You'll just fall asleep during this bore fest and miss her anyway.
Damn.
Yeah, everybody has to be like, I don't like H20. You know what else I don't like? Friday the 13th movies.
Well, then you're not a horror fan. You're not a slasher fan. I don't know. Must not be a real fan then. No.
Bosco, back of the line with the rest of the nerds.
Yep. Fucking punks. Man. All right. Well,
I gotta say that sidebar, like that ranks right up there with like what's some of the biggest regrets you've had in your life, and definitely in the top 15 or 20 is not at that moment we had a chance to say that to Adam and Joe, saying it to Adam and Joe.
back of the line, nerds.
Quiet, cool. Boom, Bosco, back of the line, nerds.
Got him. Oh man.
The second, in context of that, is I just like within the last month got to again see and talk with Tom Matthews, and it just hit me the other day. Fuck, I wanted to talk to him about that movie Down Twisted where he had his hair bleached blonde.
Yeah.
And he's playing like a gangster dude. I'm like, what the fuck was up with that? And it completely spaced until literally a couple days ago when I was watching that trailer again. I'm like, God damn it.
I want to talk about Down Twisted.
Tom Matthews has to come back to town again so I can talk about that fucking movie Down Twisted.
I'll see if I can get his phone number for you. You just text him. Man. So now that we're done with ranting and rambling about the movie, going through our Amazon 1-star reviews, we've given out our Brown Panty Award. What's next, Evil?
It's time to do the one and only thing left. Let's play the game.
It's time to play the game. Time to play the game.
It's all about the game and how you play it. Has anyone ever told you secondhand smoke kills?
Yeah, but they're all dead.
My brother killed my sister with a really sharp kitchen knife.
Boom. That's right. It is time to play the game. And if you're new here, welcome. And you're probably scratching your head asking yourself, what is the game? Well, the game is a deep cut in and of itself where you have to pick a prop from the movie that we are covering. but it cannot be a well-known prop. So since we are covering the Halloween franchise, more specifically this week we are covering Halloween H20, you cannot say you want Michael Myers' mask, his overalls, his butcher knife. Those are all
plethora of masks.
Yes, those are all low-hanging fruit and are not acceptable answers. So as Evil likes to say, you gotta go deep, or
just paint a CG mask on yourself and fuck off.
And fuck right off. Boom.
That's the mask I would want if I could take one of the masks. Like, give me the CG mask. If that's not real, like, give me the film cell of it then.
Yeah, give me the fucking green sock he put over his fucking head then. Whatever the fuck is going on
that was like
there.
a ski mask because they had to like, we'll keep the eye holes out so we can see his eyes.
Well, you gotta see his eyes.
So we ruin the entire effect of this entire film.
Yeah. Again, like you said, you're not like a massive fan of this movie, so you don't watch it on a regular basis unless, you know, your hand is forced.
Yeah, the wife likes this one a lot. She will put this one on not regularly, but fairly regularly because it's on a few different streaming platforms, and I think it's on maybe Paramount Plus, maybe one of those ones that she'll like, yeah, you want to watch it again? And she's not really, outside of, 2018, she's not a huge Halloween fan, so it gets put on actually with more regularity than you would think.
Ah, gotcha.
Which is odd because it doesn't help at all with my memory of it.
So it's been a hot minute since I've watched it, which is it's odd that I haven't watched it in like the recent past month or two, but normally, I try to get to like these franchise films every other month or something like that. I try to go through all of them.
When you're in I can tell when you're in like a mood or a slump.
Yeah.
You'll go to the slasher franchises that kind of pull you out and get you into the regular headspace of everyday livings.
Yep. So it's been a hot minute since I've sat down and watched this movie, but I think for my prop, since we have talked about it a few times, I think I'm going to want the ice skate prop that goes in Joseph Gordon-Levitt's face. Because that's fucking super rad, and I could always kill someone with an ice skate if I had that prop.
Everyone's just going to think you're Happy Gilmore and not... like, is this from the Happy Gilmore film set? No, this is what killed JGL, a.k.a. Robin himself, if you go to that Dark Knight trilogy. Mm-hmm. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. I was in the Jimmy realm of thinking something from him, but the more I thought about it, I was like, you know what? Just because it'd be fun to read to see if there actually was something written. I would hope there was something written.
LL's notebook?
I want LL's notebook of his manuscript of the shit he's writing, because it sounds like a almost softcore porn Cinemax,
tumultuous melons.
Yeah, it's really sounding like some erotica shit. I'm like, give me some LL erotica. Like, I would read that for sure, and that would be a fucking amazing prop to have. Like, what the fuck was he writing in that book? I hope it is as said.
His Cool Moody diss is in there. His cannabis diss, and yeah.
This like a limerick of like, Cool Moody, who was he?
I don't know. He's not famous no mo.
And I was like, I really want that right now since you're a rhyming expert. And I was like, give me a cool limerick of him just like fucking smashing Cool Mo D. Like a little like haiku poem.
I don't. It's too early in the morning for that.
Fuck that. That shit's never turned off. I know you can rhyme at the drop of a hat.
I'm the funky fresh rhymer. Man, that's a really good prop. I like that. That's very creative, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, very good.
I thought I'd have trouble when I was going through like, oh shit, this ain't early in my movie. The fuck do I want from it? And I was like, oh, that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah,
give me a little shit.
Give me the flag Jamie Lee Curtis stabs Michael Myers with, or throws
I can't
at him.
see anyone like running or stabbing someone with a flag and not think of
Linderman,
Patriot.
Oh, I always just think of Linderman.
Even Linderman, I'm like, he's like Mel Gibson.
Yeah, they even do the fucking slow motion Mel Gibson.
Yeah,
shit.
I'm like, this is the Patriot. This is the goddamn Patriot. And not Del Welks either. We're talking the Mel Gibson Patriot
with Fucking Heathy boy himself.
Kind of a hardcore movie in shots. I watched that in like a history class in high school, and I'm like, fuck, this is a little bit violent. I kind of dig The Patriot.
Yeah, it's not a bad movie. Weird sidebar for our Halloween H20.
You didn't know The Patriot. We were coming for your ass today too, motherfuckers.
Yep.
You never know who we got a wide net.
It's true. It's really true. It's not just horror.
No, look at any show we do. If you just bring up the oddball things that just come up during a conversation, it's a checklist.
For sure. So, if you are listening, let us know your prop on any of the podcast applications. I'm sure you can comment.
Discord, we're on there.
YouTube at 3B Video. Find us. Let us know your prop. If you're listening to this on Patreon, you can comment as well. And
give us your version of what you think LL wrote in that notebook.
I need it. Give it.
Yeah, just give us your fan fiction of what his novel ended up being.
What if it was just like page after page of all work and no play make LL a dull boy? Like because he's been at work for fucking 16 hours. He's like losing his mind.
16-hour days are bullshit. I hate overtime. Tate must die. Tate must die.
Yes.
Tate must die. Cool Mo D. I'm coming for you next.
Yeah.
Nightmare 5. Halloween 7.
God damn it. But on that note, I suppose we should probably get going because, after all, there's a lot of movies out there and somebody's got to watch them. So why not us, right?
Paging Inconsiderate. Party of one.